I asked them, where are the kids, Chad, and doesn't Tylee want a life, a job, a car, a boyfriend? And he said she didn't like people and she didn't like me.
And what struck you about those statements?
Because he said didn't.
He used the past tense?
He's the past tense.
Friends of Tammy and Chad Daybell took the witness stand today in Lori-Vallow Daybell's murder trial. Alice Gilbert knew the Daybells well and was shocked to learn Chad married Lori so soon after Tammy suddenly died.
She was also shocked when Lori was arrested related to her missing kids in early 2020. Welcome to the news at 6. I'm Morgan Romero.
And I'm Doug Petcash. Jurors in the Lori-Vallow murder trial heard from 4 witnesses today and listened to a portion of a podcast Vallow was on. She is the Rexburg mom charged with murder and conspiracy to commit murder and the deaths of 2 of her kids, JJ and Tylee, and her husband Chad Daybell's late wife, Tammy.
Our Shir Matsuzawa was back at the courthouse all day today. She has a look at what unfolded.
The court listened to 40 minutes of that podcast featuring Lori Vallow, her then friend Melanie Gibb, and 2 other individuals. The defense introduced that exhibit during its cross-examination of Todd Gilbert. He was Chad and Tammy's neighbor and a member of their same church ward. There was some discussion if that podcast was going to be allowed in court today, though. The defense said they wanted it to educate the jury about Vallow's religious beliefs. The prosecution argued its relevance. But in the end, the judge ruled to allow 40 minutes of the podcast to play, saying this case is built on religious ideology and that the religious beliefs were even referenced in the indictment. And this podcast talks about those religious beliefs. In that podcast, you can hear Vallow say, "I too have seen the resurrection of Jesus Christ." She went on to say, "I'm just a normal person that grew up in the church, but then her life turned bad, but she fought with Satan." She was also heard saying the Lord showed her she is a warrior. Before the podcast, though, Todd testified that in February of 2019, Chad told him he had a vision that Tammy would die and not make it to her 50th birthday, something we've heard others testify. Tammy died at the age of 49 in October of 2019. Today, both Todd and his wife Alice testified they went to the Daybell house the day Tammy died. And while Tammy's children were, quote, stunned, Alice says Chad was not. She says that same day, Chad told her Tammy's funeral would be held on Tuesday, her memorial the next day. Tammy died just 3 days before that on Saturday. The Gilberts also testified about meeting Lori about a week and a half after Tammy died. They said when Chad and Lori came to their house, Chad mentioned Lori recently lost a daughter. Alice says she was under the impression that Vallow had no other children, or if she did, she was an empty nester. They also testified Chad asked to move in with them after Lori was arrested in Hawaii. Around that same time, Alice said she asked Chad about Tylee. She says Chad responded she didn't like people, she didn't like me. In the past tense. They say there was never a mention of JJ. This morning, JJ's grandfather, Larry Woodcock, talked about yesterday's testimony, revealing Lori Vallow's hair was found on duct tape that was found around JJ's body.
Yesterday, what I feel like was probably the single biggest day of the trial so far, with evidence, and it was a great day.
The prosecution also called back Fremont County Sheriff Detective Bruce Mattingly to the stand. He said while Chad stated Tammy was sick before she died, from an investigative standpoint, Tammy was very active up until the time of her death. At the Ada County Courthouse, Shira Matsuzawa, Idaho's News Channel 7.
For updates throughout the trial, you can visit this story on our website, ktvb.com. And for more in-depth coverage from court, scan the QR code on your screen for a link to all of our coverage of the trial.